Graham, thank you for talking to us. It's obviously a look back at the past year and also a look forward to 2011 election year. But first of all, your memories of 2010, what stands out for you, for the Isle of Man and yourself?
Well, I think the main thing is that it's been an extremely busy year for us, but also I think it's been quite a challenging year for everybody in the Isle, not only the politicians, but the people themselves, in terms of making sure they can secure their jobs, making sure that they can continue to enjoy a good quality of life on the island, and where they can, continuing to invest in either buying a house or invest in things that they want to provide them with the way of life that they want. All of that has been quite a challenge for everybody because of the pressures that we've had, not just the Isle of Man, but throughout the world. And there's no doubt the world economy has impacted on people in the Isle of Man like anywhere else.
Well, let's talk about the VAT bombshell and this sort of massive amount of money that had to be clawed back. Are you happy with the way it's going, or do you think everyone is starting to tighten their belts, or do you still see this sort of spend mentality going along?
Well, there's very much a balance here to get right, because of course it's important for the economy that people continue to spend to make sure the economy keeps going. So what we all spend every day in the shops, buying products, having work done or whatever, quite clearly is important to keep people in work in other types of employment. And we have to get that balance up from a government point of view, of course. We have to balance not only how we provide public services, we have to prioritise those, but we also have to invest in the future, in improving the infrastructure, and of course looking at how we can do that, because at the end of the day we have so much income and we have so much committed expenditure. Now, what we did do was determine a 5-year financial programme which would allow us to readjust, and I made it very clear when this came about. What was important was that we had to manage the situation properly, and that we were in a position where fortunately we could draw on reserves for a period of time while we rebalanced the budgets without too much detrimental impact on the people that we're here to serve. And that's what we're doing, and here we are in the first year of that restructuring. We reduced government's expenditure in revenue terms, which is our day-to-day expenditure, in excess of £37 million, which is a substantial amount to cut back on. We reduced our capital programme, which is where we invest in properties such as schools and so on, and got that down to a level which is closer to what we know we actually spend, and that in itself puts greater pressure on departments to meet the demands of their capital budget. And that's quite right, so that we're not sort of looking to do more than we can actually achieve. And that helps feed work into the construction industry especially. So when you take all the mixtures of what we've done, and the point that we're fortunate enough to have reserves, which we, I think quite rightly, prudently put away over a period of 25 years, in case we ever came to a stage where we needed to support ourselves in a way that we are now seeing, to allow us to readjust, is quite right. So those things are very important to us all, to make sure that we don't adversely impact too much on the way of life of the people of the Isle of Man, and importantly where we need to continue to provide the services that people need, such as health, social care, housing, and of course at the same time investing in the future, in our children, in education, and also investing in the future to get new businesses to the Isle of Man and existing businesses to help them expand.
But we talked about many times before that especially this is election year, politicians don't find it easy to say no. I mean, this is half the problem, isn't it? That there are always going to be these grandiose schemes and ways of spending money that potentially you haven't got at the moment.
Well, I think the point we have to keep in mind is that it would be easier for us to actually go in and say, right, we're just going to cut back expenditure, and whatever the consequences, we'll have to bear it. What we're actually saying is we don't want to do that. We're seeing that happening around us for different reasons, but we're in the fortunate position where, in fact, we could say we're not taking the easy route out, we're actually taking a more difficult route, which is to try and ensure that we can keep our public services, especially the most important ones, to a level which in fact we can attain really, and wish to attain. And that means that puts greater pressure on us to find out how we can cut back on our expenditure. And one of the things we've said is we have to change how we do things. We have to use more modern technology. We have to invest in that to do that. We have to get people used to using that technology. We have to look at how we can maybe bring services more to the people at local level, and maybe decentralise a little bit more than we have done in the past. We've said that there will be a 10%, or we wish them to seek a 10% cut in staffing costs in the public service. That's a major achievement. That's about £30 million a year. Now that's putting considerable pressure on people to try and find those sort of savings. So there are many things we can do. An easy option would be just to say we're going to make substantial redundancies, and we will then make these savings quite quickly from a government point of view and quite easily. But from a community point of view, not the right thing to do. And also, of course, what's the impact on individuals and their families? So we believe we have a responsibility to do what we can to make sure we can make the readjustment in a way that has as minimal impact on people, adverse impact on people as possible. But it's not that we can't make difficult decisions. In fact, we are doing and have done over the last year.
Are you leading from the front? Are you taking a pay cut or a pay freeze?
Well, we've had pay freeze the same as all the civil servants. We don't have any increase in our pay at all. So, we're in the same sort of boat on that. And I think quite rightly, if we expect people to have a pay freeze within the public service, then we should do the same, and that's what we do.